Part 52. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huo Xiangxiao. Chapter 533. The climate on the island is getting hotter and hotter. When I first emerged from the sea on the first day, it was still relatively cool. As the days go by, the air is filled with the heat of the battle between elves, which is getting higher and higher. In each camp, trainers from other countries and regions will come to challenge you from time to time. If the challenge is successful, it will be a great face. But if the challenge fails, there will naturally be some jokes about overestimating one's capabilities. As Yang Yu's popularity on the island grows, there are naturally some trainers who want to try their luck. As we all know, Yang Yu's 3 elves have almost no fighting power. Tijipai, Dream Monster, Mini Dragon. Yang Yu has always kept these 3 young elves with him. He rarely even puts them in the elf ball. Even when he goes to official competition venues to play elf battles, Yang Yu never hides them. How can there be such an arrogant trainer? In this battle, you will let 3 elves go first? However, the fact is that the trainers who competed with Yang Yu on the schedule are really not even qualified to let the 3 elves take action. Ah, Lu. Under a big tree at the entrance of the camp, in the great shade, you can see a chubby pink elf lying on a lounge chair, wearing a pair of sunglasses and holding a hand made of leaves. My fan was swaying squeaking and I was enjoying the coolness under the tree. There was no such big tree in the camp originally. This was transplanted from the island by all the grass-type elves from the Chinese trainers. Students majoring in secret research, such as Bao Xiaoyan and Li Yuanfang, have very good professional knowledge about the environment. After testing the island soil in the camp, they found that if the big trees were transplanted, and the grass system was added, with the growth help of the elf, you can definitely survive here successfully. If you want to live a decent life on the island, you have to have some green above your head, right? Not to mention, after transplanting some trees, the campground is really cooler. The tent where Yang Yu was located was near the big tree at the gate of the camp. He took out his favorite deck chair from his hat. During his free time in the afternoon, he lay down in the shade with a cup of tea next to him. Life on the island is so beautiful. However, the peaceful afternoon tea time was interrupted by hurried footsteps and somewhat high-pitched challenging voices. Dada stood up from the recliner, spread his short legs, and held the leg of his sunglasses with one hand, looking at the trainer who came to challenge him with his big eyes open. Yeah. Dada jumped down from the recliner, raised a small circle of dust, patted his legs from side to side, and then ran towards the trainer outside the door with small steps. At the same time, with a pinch of his fingers, the super sound insulation wall in Yang Yu's tent blocked the noisy sound. Yang Yu was still taking a nap at this moment, and not just anyone could wake him up. Tell me, if anything happens, just come and stay with me. Dada's fat body was already standing in front of the camp gate, looking at the 3 trainers who came together. It's the Golden Slow King from Yang Yu of China. Rose, a trainer from the English region, looked slightly solemn. Generally speaking, when they come to challenge, they will inform the people in the camp. Later, if Yang Yu is in the camp, the notification will be passed on to him. Now, Yang Yu's Slow King with the golden conch cap appeared directly in front of them, which meant, Yang Yu was in the camp. The 3 trainers from the English region looked at him with great respect. They had a natural awe in their bones for the King Elf, who was a noble trainer himself. I'd like to inform you that the English trainer, Stephen Kelson, is here to challenge. Stephen made a very gentlemanly salute to Dai Dai. If this King Dai Dai comes to the English area, the Queen will definitely invite it to be a guest. This is the proper position of the King Elf. He stared blankly at the 2 people behind Stephen, as if asking, "Are you also here to take on the challenge?" Rovis and Florence shook their heads. They just came to cheer Stephen on. They still have to abide by the rules of coming to challenge, otherwise, the trainers of the British nobles will definitely be laughed at by the trainers on the island. If such things are spread, they will probably not get good results after returning home. Dede hugged his belly for a while, looking a little disappointed. What should I do? I can't fight 3 of them one at a time. No, according to the 6v6 rules on the island, one cannot fight 18. Forget it, finish the fight early and go back to drink cha-cha. Cha-cha is still hot now. After the elf battle, you can cool down a little. Dudu put up a sign he had prepared before in his hand. Go through the stupid level first. By the way, there is a silly mugshot on this sign, and there is a pose on the mugshot, which makes it look very silly. Don't worry about so many details, anyway, the door-to-door challenge will be taken over. This has a clear division of labor with Xian. In the official competition venue, Xian goes first. For the logistics behind it, that is, door-to-door challenges and the like, stay there for now. If you can't beat him, go to Xian. On this island, there are also many elves hidden on the island that have a troublesome sense of stupidity, and even evil elves that can completely restrain their stupidity. Just like the overlord Megalodon we encountered before. In order not to be like the crisis he encountered last time, Dede also needs elf battles to hone his superpowers. You can't always let Xian protect Dede and the others. The last time Xian was injured, it made Dede feel very sorry. Yeah. Dede's whole body seemed to be aroused with a strong desire to fight. When his short left leg took a step forward, the 3 trainers seemed to feel a pressure similar to that of a grandmaster and couldn't help but join in. He took a few steps back. There were no fluctuations in superpowers, they just raised their momentum blankly, just like the gatekeepers guarding the sect in martial arts fantasy novels. The moment they moved forward with their momentum, they were so powerful. Is it Chinese Kung Fu? Luo Weisai took a breath of air. On this hot island, there was a chill on his body for some reason. Stephen, you have to be careful. This is the slow king who knows Chinese Kung Fu. Florence was equally alert. It's a pity to be dumb. The elf battle here cannot use external props such as pots and spatulas. Otherwise, it can also showcase the strength of the Chinese little master's stupid chef. But that's it. The curved super spoon still works, it's just here, it's available, but not necessary. It's better to make Kung Fu tea. Yeah. Dada put his hands behind his chubby waist and motioned for the 3 trainers to follow him to the elf battleground next to the camp. As expected of the king elf, he has this momentum that other elves don't have. Florence's eyes widened. The feeling of this door-to-door challenge seems to be different from the local trainers. I remember that when I went to North America yesterday, many people were clamoring and making noises, but here in Yangyu, China. Luo Weisai sighed in his heart. He couldn't help but even envied Stephen in his tone. King Slow's kingly attitude is much better than those trainers who are full of malicious intentions. Yeah. Stephen didn't know why, but he seemed to feel something was wrong, so Yang Yu sent an elf from King Dude at the door to deal with him. Shouldn't he be angry? This is an elf. He actually wants to wear 6 clothes. How arrogant this is. But Stephen looked at the slow king in front of him who was leading the way to the elf battlefield with such momentum, and for a moment he couldn't get angry. It's like, this is the style and momentum that a kingly elf should have. Yes, Stephen, you must be worthy of the seriousness and respect from King Slow. Florence's eyes even became a little pious, looking at the pink and chubby body in front of her, she almost felt I just want to kneel down and worship. What kind of divine elf is this? It actually has such incredible magic power. At this time, Yang Yu, who was sitting in the tent, did not know that he had done something incredible. I know that such a battle seems excessive, and even feels contemptuous, but it somehow makes my opponent angry, and even the kind who is still counting money for others after being sold. This is the magic of being stupid. Asking for votes. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 534. Come out, Mongoose /. Steven summoned his first battle elf. Looking at the dumb king standing on the other side of the battlefield, he felt admiration in his heart, and at the same time, his desire to win this elf battle became even more intense. Mongoose Jean is like a cat killer, very similar to its name. Its white body has patterns like red lightning, especially around the left eye. The red lightning patterns are like blood stains on the eye, spreading at the same time to the ears. On the two thick and powerful arms, there are sharp claws shining with cold light, which can even cut through anything that hinders its progress. This elf with both physical attack and speed skills has a dexterous posture and powerful physical attack ability, but these two abilities of Mongoose / are improved at the expense of its own physical defense and special defense ability, just like Assassin. A stalker. Look, over there at the venue, is that Yang Yu Slow King fighting an elf battle with other trainers elf. But why isn't Yang Yu here? King Dudu, can he handle it? This temporary battle site was not far from the Chinese camp. The girls who were mapping the local terrain of the island couldn't help but stop what they were doing when they saw the elf battle that was about to take place on the site. Sister Hu Jing. Sister Jing, are you here too? Isn't that Yang Yu Slow King? Why is he fighting with other trainers elves? Li Yuanfang asked quickly. It's the trainer who came to challenge me, Hu Jing said as she saw many trainers watching the excitement gathered around the edge of the battlefield. What about Yang Yu? His dumb king is on the field, where are the others? Bao Xiaoyan was looking around, even at the sky. Yuanfang, what do you think? Isn't he still taking a nap at this time? Li Yuanfang answered casually. The corner of Hu Jing's mouth twitched. Yang Yu might actually be able to do such a thing. I'm going to ask Wan Kaizu to see Yang Yu. Although Hu Jing felt that Yang Yu was very unreliable, at this time, she still hoped that Yang Yu would be more serious. After all, this was an opponent coming to visit. Challenging. However, looking at the steady slow king in the field, Hu Jing even had the illusion that if she didn't call Yang Yu, she would win this battle. He didn't even use all his strength last time. King Slut, how strong is he? Hu Jing sent a message to Wan Kaizu. Wan Kaizu said he received it, so Hu Jing set his sights on the venue. It would be inconvenient for her to go to Yang Yu's tent to find Yang Yu directly. But it would be different if Wan Kaizu went there, at least it wouldn't be embarrassing. Now, she wanted to take a closer look at what her chances of winning would be if she faced this idiot with her current elf strength. At this moment, on the battlefield, Steven has his own considerations. The slow king in front of him has dual attributes of water and superpower. Although he has no restraint in the elf attributes, in terms of move attributes, his Mongoose / has an absolute advantage. Whether it's the evil type Pursuit or the insect type Cross Shear, it can have an outstanding attack effect on the slow king. Sharp Claws. Shadow Clone. Almost at the same time as Steven gave the order, Mongoose/'s figure in the field immediately became weird, and the shadow illusions formed around him seemed to be very lifelike at the speed that Mongoose/ was very good at. In the shadow illusion of these Mongoose/'s, the sharp claws cross each other, as if forming a cross. When they forcefully slash towards both sides of the body again, like a polished slashing blade, under the sun at this moment, flashing cold light. Yeah. Dede didn't have the slightest bit of panic at the moment. No matter what his opponent did, he couldn't affect his actions. And Dede's actions were very simple, just close your eyes slightly. Meditation. The field surrounding Dede was almost as if he heard the call of superpowers. The dust raised stagnated in the air, just like the great master in the martial arts story. All sounds could not escape Dede's hands. Ear. Mongoose chop, lightning flashed, up. Cross scissors, interrupt King Slow's meditation. Break. The meerkat slash and all its shadow illusions were quickly launched from different directions. Even in the sky, there was a jumping meerkat slash. With this shadow clone, the meerkat slash was performed vividly and perfectly. The mongoose slashing shadow phantom, which was even surrounding Dudu from behind in the venue, began to attack Dudu in the center with all its strength. Whoosh! Whizzing! The sound of claws tearing through the air caused fear among many trainers watching the battle outside the venue. There are so many mongoose cuts, which one is the real one? Bao Xiaoyan's eyes were almost dizzy. Although she had seen many elf battles using shadow clone moves before, there was no such thing. It's so realistic right now. Oh my god, it's like a group of mongooses appeared out of thin air, it's really terrifying. The most commonly used fighting skills of shadow clones are easy to learn, but very difficult to master. This is just a roundabout confusion of mongoose slash. Mongoose slash is one of the representative elves of strength and agility. It is now, like it's an assassin lurking in the shadow clone, Hu Jing explained nervously. In her heart, she still believed that Yang Yu's Slow King could break the situation in front of her. However, Hu Jing wanted to know how the Slow King could solve the killing move of Mongoose Slash. Whoosh! Mongoose Jean's clone is still testing, whether it's backstabbing, or waiting for an opportunity to find a flaw to use the cross scissors to deliver a bone-piercing blow. The sharpened claws are as sharp as knife oil, and they are already hungry. However, the person in the middle of the field still had his eyes closed. Lao Huidi's teachings to him have always been engraved in his heart. Meditate, use your super powerful spirit to perceive the surrounding environment. With your heart, you can hear the breathing of flowers and plants, and with your heart, you can hear the tremor of the earth. When you calm down to meditate, even if you don't open your eyes, you can still hear it in your mind. See it all. The days in the center of the field moved. It's like closing your eyes and slowly taking a step forward. Just this simple step brings an incredible aura throughout the body. This aura is mixed with Dadu's understanding of superpowers, mixed with the awareness of meditation spreads around. Immobilization method. The moment Dede opened his eyes, an irresistible superpower shot straight ahead from Dede's eyes. The shadow clone is completely annihilated. Mongoose Jean's true body was right there, not moving at all. However, the moment Mongoose Jean realized that his shadow clone had expired and was about to move, an irresistible force held his body firmly in place. What? Why is he still there when Mongoose killed him? Braked. How come the attack contained in the shadow clone was broken at this moment? King Dude, it was just the moment from closing his eyes to opening them. What happened? Yuan Fang. How did you do this? It's amazing, Yuan Fang, what do you think? Bao Xiaoyan shouted, her voice trembling, and the scene in front of her suddenly reversed. I can't react at all. Superpower, the body-fixing method, Li Yuan Fang said this answer carefully, for fear that she might have said it wrong. Unexpectedly, Hu Jing on the side nodded in agreement, it's amazing. I didn't expect that King Duodida would use the immobilization technique, to break this move. Also, this mongoose slash is also extremely cunning, don't look at the shadow, there are so many clones that can be used, and even the attacks are so realistic, but the real body still stays in place. Such a hunter, is not an exaggeration to call him a night hunter. However, no matter how powerful the hunter is, he can't move his hands. He is imprisoned by the immobilization method. How can he have any other use? Night Hunter, why is this name so familiar? Bao Xiaoyan muttered. King Dudu, is so awesome, Li Yuanfang couldn't help but be speechless. Bah. Ibrahimovic, who had been taking a nap, woke up in a daze. Although he didn't know what to say at this time, he just nodded. Mongoose Jean, why don't you move? Stephen's heart skipped a beat. When he saw the eyes of the Slow King in the venue emitting blue-violet light as he used his superpower, he couldn't help but swallow his saliva. Concentration. Concentration method. This blank look, to Mongoose Jean, feels like 1,000 years have passed. The power of the great master, at this moment, kill instantly with one glance. Keep asking for votes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 535. Only the most basic move of the superpower system, telekinesis, can cause Mongoose, which is affected by the immobilization technique, to suffer huge damage. However, this blank look will have a greater psychological impact on Mongoose. How could something so evil happen? He saw the man with the golden conch cap on his head slowly running over. Even under the sun, Mongoose Jean still felt a little shivering. Fear. Yeah. Want a cup of tea? The meerkat was completely bewildered as sweat dripped down its forehead. I saw Dede conjuring a cup out of nowhere. He seemed to wave his left hand, and a water splash fell into the cup. After a while, with Dede's gesture, the water began to boil, and it was almost there. At this time, Dede ordered a few tea leaves in the water. Not to mention that the meerkat was beheaded, even Stephen was dumbfounded. What? What is this operation? Dede put a little bit of warm tea between the two paws of the meerkat's left paw, clamped it firmly, and made a cup of tea to drink on a hot day. It was very comfortable. What is he doing? King Dede, is he making tea on the spot? Bao Xiaoyan, Li Yuanfang, and even Hu Jing, they all felt confused. When did the elf battle have such a process? Mongoose Jean looked blankly at the cup of tea that was just warm enough in his left hand, and then looked blankly again. I seem to understand a little bit. End of the game, go back to the trainer, have tea, drink tea. Stephen. Mongoose Jean and Stephen looked at each other blankly for a while, thinking that their master was interested in this cup of tea, so they subconsciously reached out and handed over the teacup in their paws. Stephen? His expression gradually became dull. You, drink by yourself first. Stephen's head hurt a little, and Mongoose Jean's confused expression almost spread to his face. Hurry up and prepare for the next battle. Break. Mongoose Jean nodded, like a substitute for a water dispenser, holding the cup of tea next to him and began to drink it bit by bit. Hey, don't mention it, this slightly bitter but very refreshing tea, especially in this hot weather, this refreshing feeling from the inside out, Mongoose Jean quite likes it. It's not easy to fight now. King Slow's meditation has been completed. If I had known that I wouldn't have let Mongoose use the shadow clone to confuse me from the beginning, it wouldn't have been right. If I didn't use the shadow clone, I wouldn't have had a chance. Stephen's thoughts were a little messy, but he still made the choice of the next elf to appear. Big Tongue Licking, it's up to you. If you want to defeat the Slow King, it depends on the power of your tongue licking. Woo dash. The elves that appeared from the elf balls on the field really shocked many trainers. Big. This tongue is too big. There is also that fat body that is even rounder than King Slow, and the appearance of Big Tongue on the field even makes many trainers feel chills. Oh my god. What kind of elf is this? It looks so disgusting. Bao Xiaoyan couldn't help but look at the big ball that swelled like red bubble gum, especially the huge tongue sticking out. Scream. Big Tongue Licking, this player's spirit is a bit interesting. He actually chose the initial Big Tongue as his combat power. Hu Jing's expression was not as superficial as Bao Xiaoyan's. Big Tongue Licking actually ranks among some trainers. There is still a lot of popularity in it. Under the giant tongue, there is a pattern like a white bib, 3 yellow curved stripes that gradually become longer from top to bottom, somewhat like an inverted Wi-Fi. In addition to the huge tongue, the big tongue licks the top of the head is like the handful on top of an ice cream cone. This basically explains why Big Tongue Lick has such a round and huge body shape. She also loves sweets, wears a bib all the time, and is obsessed with Wi-Fi. There is nothing better than a fat house. Come on. Big tongue licking, use your tongue to lick and paralyze the slow king. Steven doesn't care how disgusting he said this move is, the big tongue licking move itself is like this, using its unparalleled and unique big tongue to carry out attack. The damage caused can be ignored, but the most important thing is the paralysis effect caused by the big tongue licking. In Slow King's meditation, Steven has no way to weaken the special attack ability, but he can weaken Slow King's attack power by applying status. It's just that Steven's idea is excellent, but it has to be licked by the king of slow. Big tongue whipping. De Tongue licked out his tongue as hard as a sniper, but he realized that something was wrong the moment he threw it out. My tongue, why did it just stop? The big tongue licked the 2 copper bell-sized eyes and stared blankly. Not only did the tongue not work, but the body also seemed to be stuck there out of thin air. Asterisk. That long tongue that was flung out, big tongue licking was very hard, but now, big tongue licking tears are about to fall. I regret it. It's okay to just come out and hang out, but why do you want to carry it? Isn't it good to be a bastard? Isn't it good to be a happy little fat paper? Why use force? Why are you trying to prove yourself? At this moment, it is not only the length of the tongue licked out by Tam who is immobilized in the golden body, this length is even a bit like the impact of a certain prince's dragon. At this moment, the trainers around the battlefield who came to watch the show were stunned. This tongue is too long. F***ck, Bao Xiaoyan was even startled and vomited something sweet. This immobilization method is so amazing. This is simply a famous scene of big tongue licking. This big tongue lick is too miserable. Li Yuanfang quickly rubbed her eyes. That just now was a big tongue lick. The moment she was frozen, she burst into tears laughing. Bah. Ibrahimovic on the side stared at the dumb opponent on the field, and then looked at the big tongue of his dumb opponent. He subconsciously moved his tongue and found that his tongue was still fine, so he looked at the poor guy with great sympathy. Give it a big lick. So miserable. The meerkat Zanji Lingling, who was holding tea and watching the elves fighting on the ground, shivered. Fortunately, it still had the warm tea in the cup to give it some warmth. It's too awful. Big tongue licking is really miserable. Wow, this move is simply a nightmare for Mongoose. It has never even thought that the flexible body skills and powerful attacks that it is proud of will be shocked by a simple glance. At the same time, every inch of its body, all the joints are not working properly. Now, big tongue licking, which is even worse than Mongoose / appears on the battlefield between elves. Although Mongoose / knows that it is wrong to laugh at his partner, this scene is really funny. It's about to break. It's about to break. My tongue is about to break off. He scratched his head blankly. It seemed that the timing of using this immobilization method was a little different from what he imagined. It would have been better if he had reacted earlier. When the immobilization method was over, De Tongue rolled his limp tongue like a rolling paper with tears in his eyes. Woo, his tongue was stretched out for too long and was so numb that he couldn't roll it back. I'm too southern. Please vote, please vote. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 536. Yeah. It's a bit difficult to handle now. Dumbly, he stretched out his hand and scratched his head. He looked at Big Tongue's short little hand holding a long list of big tongues that were as long and unretractable as some leaders' speeches spread out on the ground. He couldn't think of anything good for a while. Method. This small round of elf battle is basically over. I can't hold it back. Even if I walk, I will be tripped or dragged down by my own tongue. It's difficult to even walk, let alone fight elf. Woo 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 woo. The big tongue hugged its own tongue and just burst into tears on the battlefield. It didn't want to become a long-tongued woman. This was too embarrassing. Its poor big tongue. Even if he was burned, frostbitten or even poisoned, it would still be better than this situation. Well, Florence, how do you recover from a licking tongue like this? If your tongue stays like this during this period, what should Stephen do in the Masters Elf battle after that? Training with Stephen Royce was a little nervous. Florence shook her head repeatedly. Don't ask me, I don't know. I have never raised such an elf. This is the first time I have encountered such a miserable battle. The timing of using this immobilization method is really great. In the past, Stephen was able to win 4 battles in a row. The assistance of big tongue licking played a big role. If the tongue cannot recover in a short time, the elf battles in the next 2 days will be miserable, Rovis continued. Stephen frowned tightly at this time. Seeing Big Tongue's current situation, he had no intention of continuing the subsequent elf battle. Winning or losing in the temporary challenge didn't matter, but if this challenge affected the subsequent Masters tournament, that is the real gain outweighs the loss. Yeah. Just when Big Tongue was still struggling to retract his tongue, Day suddenly clapped his hands, and the small purple super light bulb ding ding lit up twice next to the golden conch cap. With those round eyes and wide grinning mouth, he had a good idea. Yeah. In front of many stunned trainers, Day took off his hat and put his hands into the hat, as if he was looking for something. He touched it, blinked blankly, lowered his head, and saw a bottle of ordinary menu milk in a box in his hand. This was the material he wanted. It's a pity that there are no eggs. By the way, there is Tang Tang in Yang Yu's bag. Put on your hat, twist it, put it straight. Almost instantly, Day's figure disappeared into the battlefield, and soon, within a few blinks of an eye, Day returned to the battlefield. Teleport. It's over. I haven't seen him use this classic move unique to the super elf during the battle. Stephen covered his face. What does this mean? It means that this slow king didn't use all his strength at all. He didn't even need to use teleportation, he just needed to take a small step forward, and then with a glance, he ended the elf battle calmly, just like in the style of a great master. Clang. Day held the pot in his left hand and the shovel in his right hand, and struck it once. It was like the final sound. All the trainers looked at Day in the field quietly. What to do? Huh? Day-tongue nodded subconsciously, and the bunch of ice cream-like hair on his round head shook slightly. What kind of operation is this? This pot and shovel, yes, where did they come from? Oh my god, why did King Day carry a pot and shovel with him? Bao Xiaoyan was shocked. Li Yuanfang stroked Evie's plush hand and paused. It's the super storage space for super elves, right? King Slow, what does he want to do? Bah, Ibrahimovic also wants to know. What does King Slut want to do on such a battlefield between elves? He wants to cook, Hu Jing on the side said subconsciously. What? Sigma, degree. Bao Xiaoyan, Li Yuanfang, and Li Yuanfang's Ibrahimovic all had confused looks on their faces. Bah. Cook. What kind of operation is this? Sister Jing, are you kidding? We are fighting against elves? What are we going to cook? Bao Xiaoyan wiped the sweat from her forehead. She didn't believe it no matter what. But this posture is holding both a pot and a shovel. It's not cooking, is there anything else? Li Yuanfang was also confused. Could it be that she didn't take a nap today and was confused? Only Hu Jing had a calm look on her face, explaining to the 2 girls who had not participated in the national competition, In the forest team competition of the national competition held this year, Yang Yu relied on the idiot hippo who knew how to cook. I earned a lot of points in the meteor forest. Huh? There is still such an operation. Bao Xiaoyan and Li Yuanfang's eyes were like little stars, full of curiosity. They didn't know what kind of details there were in the national competition, but now that they heard what Sister Hu Jing said, their curiosity was skyrocketing. Hu Jing did not hide it. While looking at the dumb king in the venue, she explained to the two girls, "This is what happened." At that time, while Hu Jing was explaining to them, there were pots and spatulas in the venue, and the Chinese chef style was gathering around them bit by bit. It was moving. Whoosh! Carton of milk, prick it and tear a hole from the edge. The speed of tearing open the opening was as fast as taking advantage of the milk in the box without paying attention. It was not until a second or two later that the milk reacted fell down from the smooth opening like a waterfall. Hua 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 hua. The dripping milk seemed to be like white flowers, splashing and blooming in the dull pot. In the eyes of everyone, the white flowers in the pot seemed to be alive, growing and growing. Finally, his dull eyes moved again. Click. The sound of an egg breaking resounded through the air. The trainers around were so shocked that they didn't even have time to blink. They wanted to engrave the scenes in front of them in their minds and refused to miss a second. The cracked egg in the sky was taken out of the food refrigerator in the camp. At this moment, the golden egg liquid split from the middle began to slowly merge with the milk as it splashed into the pot. Clang 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 clang. The shovel held in Dede's right hand began to spin in his hand like a whirlwind, and he quickly beat the box of milk and the fallen eggs evenly. It seemed that he had already thought that such a small box of milk was not enough. Dede. He opened 3 more boxes of milk. In this way, in order to avoid milk splashing, Dada needed to use more thought to control the spiral stirring of the shovel. Click, click, click. 3 more eggs fell into the pot at the same time. At this moment, if Dede's pot is not controlled, the milk inside is likely to overflow. Dede's superpower is exerted on the spatula in his hand. Buzz buzz. An incredible scene occurred. The spatula in your hand seems to have a spiral attraction. As you pull up the spatula, the spiral in the middle will become longer. If you slowly approach the pot and press down on the spatula, the milk in the pot may overflow. Come. The milk that should have spilled out was now firmly rotating in the center with the shovel, forming a tall spiral column. Oh my God, what delicious food is he making? It looks delicious. Bao Xiaoyan swallowed her saliva in dismay, staring at the dumbfounded pots in the venue, as if watching a miracle happening. A battle between edible elves? Such an idea popped into Li Yuanfang's mind, and she was shocked. Bah! At this time, Ibrahimovic, who was in Li Yuanfang's arms, licked the saliva from the corner of his mouth, his eyes filled with envy. If there was such a battle between elves? It also wants to fight? It doesn't matter whether you can beat him or not. What's important is that even if you can't beat him, you can still get some tea from Dede that you can eat or drink. Wow! This is so happy. Is it possible that King Dude is making ice cream? Hu Jing said subconsciously again. Ice cream. Wow, this is great. You can't find ice cream on this island. The Elf Alliance doesn't provide such a good thing to relieve the heat. Bao Xiaoyan's eyes were immediately fixed on the field. On the stupid king. If this is really making ice cream. Ibrahimovic, how about we also go on stage to challenge the slow king and share the ice cream we get? Li Yuanfang took Ibrahimovic's paw and shook it. Bah, bah. Ibrahimovic subconsciously wanted to nod excitedly and agree, but just before it nodded, the characteristic of predicting danger made it tremble all over. Wow, you are a devil. Li Yuanfang felt a little pity in her heart. It looked like the stupid king on the field really knew how to make ice cream. In this hot world on the central island of the world, What could be more attractive than ice cream? It's all because of Ibrahimovic's ability to predict danger, otherwise he would have succeeded. Ibrahimovic stared at Li Yuanfang angrily. Wow, if she hadn't triggered her danger prediction trait just now, she would have almost been tricked by her master. It was Ibrahimovic who was beaten on stage. The ice cream she got was obviously Ibrahimovic's, but she actually wanted to split it 50-50. 73. Wrong. 82 points will do. At this moment, Dede controlled the rapidly rotating shovel with his mind, and at the same time, the palm of his right hand lit up instantly. It was the super spoon given to him by his teacher who did. It's an elf prop, a bent spoon. A bent spoon that can enhance the power of super-type moves. Steven was shocked. That's right, elf props with special effects can be used in elf battles. They were useless when beating Steven before, but now they are only used when cooking, Rovis muttered with dull eyes. No. Rovis, please speak softly, do you mean that Steven is worse than a plate of food? Florence lowered her voice and gave Rovis a hard tug. Sorry. Steven looked at the dazzling Slow King in the venue, looked at the bent spoon held in his right hand, and smiled bitterly in his heart. What Rose said is true. He seems to be really inferior to a plate of food. The cooking methods used by King Dude in front of him are even more cumbersome than dealing with his elf. Looking at the spiral milk column rotating in the pot, it requires so much concentration. For Dede, such an operation is still very simple, especially after meditation. With the completely improved superpowers and spiritual perception, the operation is even easier. Bao Xiaoyan's guess was correct. What Dede was making at this moment was ice cream. The ice cream produced by Dede is absolutely exquisite. This hot island is not suitable for ice elves. Weak ice elves may not be able to stand the summer heat, and some ice-type moves will also be weakened by the climate. Dede has not mastered large-scale ice moves like Blizzard and Freeze Ray, but it is still possible to use superpowers to convert some ice power. Using a super spoon, you can convert ice power in this hot environment. The ground is stronger and more durable. Yeah. Dede asked about the big tongue licking in the venue, who already had a dumbfounded expression on his face. Well. Day tongue licking felt that his tongue was vaguely attracted by the milk that was like a white Milky Way waterfall in the pot, and his taste buds even started to beat. Yeah. What flavor of ice cream do you want to eat? Chocolate? Or strawberry candy flavor? Dede asked. Well. Big tongue licks and eyes light up. Chocolate. Chocolate. Guidance Zhongshan Xiao. Just when Big Tongue was licking the round body and jumping up and down, the flexible right hand holding the super spoon was like the Tai Immortal's pointing pen, drawing a purple super line out of thin air. Whoosh. Pot, get up. Just visible to the naked eye, the Milky Way-like milk in the pot seemed to be guided by a super spoon, flowing like a trickle in the air. Under the attention of all the trainers, with Big Tongue Licking's face full of expectation and even jumping up and down, the ice cream liquid like a trickle was thrown at the same time as the chocolate that turned into pieces in the air. Together, circling, intertwining, intermingling. Click, click, click. Come on ice. In the center of Big Tongue's long tongue, a thin strip of ice cream with white and black colors coexisted, moving forward along the tongue, forward. Until it extends to the point where the big tongue licks the front of the mouth. The aroma of milk, light yellow aroma, and the crumb-like chocolate is like the finishing touch. Everything is just right. Chiliu. The big tongue licked the long tongue, and all the taste buds were stimulated almost in an instant, as if they all wanted to feel the cold and mellow chocolate-flavored ice cream under the heat. Chiliu. The big tongue that seemed to have lost its contraction power also seemed to be rejuvenated at this moment. The saliva was flowing, and at the same time, it was full of elasticity. The tongue that was licked by the big tongue, was restored to its original state under the sage moment of the god of cooking. Dumb. Dumb. Not far away, in the tent next to the big tree in the camp, a man whose hair was a little messy before he had time to fix it poked his head out of it. Yang Yu, who had just woken up and was still a little confused, rubbed his eyes and called Dadu at the door. Yeah. Epsilon equals, Yang Yu, here I come. Just when many trainers were subconsciously staring at the pot with ice cream puree, and many thoughts of wanting to eat were still echoing in their minds, they were stunned, kicking, running with the pot on their feet. Got it? There is still a lot of ice cream puree in the pot. I poured so much milk before to make it for Yang Yu. Just when Dede appeared in front of Yang Yu's tent holding the pot, a figure with a big white nose on his head and even a striking burn bandage, flew out of Yang Yu's tent in an instant. Come out. Me. Even if the mini dragon's nose is injured, it can't stop it from smelling the smell of food, let alone its efforts to move towards food. Snapped. Under the eyes of countless passerby trainers who missed the mini dragon. In the pot, a mini dragon with lots of ice cream puree suddenly appeared on its body. Mum. It tastes quite good. Yang Yu. When Yang Yu figured out that Dede was making delicious ice cream for him and his little cuties, he looked at the mini dragon in the pot that was already covered in ice cream puree. The mini dragon even licked himself. Mum. Tasty. Yang Yu's eyebrows stood up for a moment. Mini dragon. Look at the good stuff you've done. Dumb, why don't we throw this mini dragon into a frying pan and fry it, just call it fried cream ice cream dragon? Judging from the name, if you add some chocolate chips, the kids next door will be crying. Mum. No more chapters, please vote. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 537. Yang Yu woke up. From the gap in the tent behind Yang Yu, an oval egg rolled out with a gurgling sound, and almost rolled to the side of Yang Yu's shoes. The Tijipai with the small blue and red triangle patterns on his body swooshed and stretched out 2 short hands and 2 small feet beside the eggshell, as if there were 4 small flowers growing on the eggshell. Like small buds. Poppy. Tijipai suddenly stuck out its pointed head and used that cheerful voice to indicate that it had woken up from its eggs. The little dream demon squinted his eyes and floated up and down a little unsteadily, but finally it landed on Yang Yu's hair. Seeing such a standard Satan style, Tijipai, dream demon, mini dragon, and Yang Yu himself standing in the center, when the pictures completely overlapped, all the trainers on the battlefield felt a rush of emotion. Pressure. Not to mention Stephen and his 2 companions who came to challenge. Dede, you are here to challenge me. Is the elf battle over? Yang Yu received the message from Wang Kai's who narrowed his eyes for a while and came out. Seeing the ice cream puree being made in the pot, Yang Yu thought that the battle would be over so soon. Yeah. Dudu's eyes lit up, he took Yang Yu's hand, handed the pot with the ice cream mini dragon to Yang Yu temporarily, pointed to the battlefield not far away from the camp, indicating that the battle there had not started yet. Over. Let's go, Dudu, let's go there together. Mini dragon, look at what you're like, don't you want face? You don't want face, but I still want face. Snapped. Before Yang Yu finished speaking, many dragons were coiled around the edge of the pot like blueberry cream donuts, and then the big white nose plunged into the circle gap in the center of the donut, waiting when it poked its head out again, the mini dragon. Completely confused. The mini dragon's face was covered with ice cream, as if as long as it couldn't see Yang Yu wouldn't be able to see it. Poppy. Tijipai, who was in Yang Yu's hand, curiously stretched out his little hand and touched the mini dragon's nose, and then put it into his mouth as if he was tasting his own fingers, and there was an ice cream puree with some chocolate chips. Instantly, Tijipai felt the joy of eating ice cream in the summer. Omega, / So delicious. The mini-dragon found that the disguise it used to cover up its sight was getting weaker and weaker. Later, it could even see Yang Yu clearly in front of it. When it wanted to find the reason. Mum. The ice cream puree on the mini-dragon's nose, was all eaten up by Tijipai. Tijipai, Dada will make you something more delicious when the time comes. As for the mini-dragon, let him be greedy to death. Yang Yu glared at the mini-dragon fiercely, then looked at Dada. Dada, let's go there. For some reason, when Stephen saw Yang Yu, who had a kind face, even yawned, and even had some curls in his hair that he hadn't had time to fix, he couldn't help but take a step back. Satan is awake. The Tijipai in his arms is using Tijipai's cuteness to cover up his cruelty in the official elf battle competition. The dream monster on the head had its eyes narrowed, as if it had a cold murderous intent. At this time, the right hand is holding the weapon of the stupid King Guo. The mini-dragon is still wrapped around the pot. It looks like the kind of dragon blood weapon with a mysterious atmosphere. This is the perfection of Satan. Don't provoke him, otherwise, when he summons that terrifying giant Gyarados from the abyss of hell, it will be a trainer's nightmare. Stephen, is so scary. He is so scary, he actually uses cuteness to disguise his cruelty. Florence's voice trembled as she spoke. Royce had even taken several steps back. He even wanted to find an opportunity, to run away. Sorry to bother you. I lost this battle between elves? Yang Yu was a little confused, wasn't it? Dede had already signaled that the battle between elves hadn't even ended yet, and he came over to take a look, so he just stopped fighting? No fight, Yang Yu asked subconsciously. No fight, no fight. Stephen shook his head and trembled so frequently that he even sounded a bit naughty. You really don't want to fight anymore? I really don't want to fight anymore. Yang Yu looked at the trainers in front of him and began to wonder. Why did he feel that these trainers were trembling? Is he that scary? He just woke up and came over to take a look. What's wrong? Ugh. Suddenly, a round fat elf like a pinball seemed to use a meat bomb impact. Doing twice, it bounced in front of Dudu, and the round lump of flesh on his body trembled up and down. Like a spring. I'll go. Big tongue lick. Yang Yu's eyelids twitched subconsciously. He didn't know why, but the big tongue licking seemed to make Yang Yu smile, especially the flowing tufts of hair, which really made him want to stop. Big tongue licking came here specifically to thank Data for the delicious ice cream. Well, that was the most delicious thing he had ever tasted in his life, bar none. Yeah. Data happily accepted it. As an excellent Data chef, being praised by elves who have tasted his cooking skills is the best encouragement. There is nothing to be embarrassed about, it is just what Data deserves. This is a little thought, please accept it. Stephen's feelings for King Dai and Yang Yu are definitely different. Even though King Dai is Yang Yu's elf, but, it's just that they are different anyway. It can help De Tung's tongue return to its original state. Moreover, with such a kingly demeanor, he, Stephen, naturally needs to be respectful to the Slow King. In their English region, the King of Elf is even related to the honor and disgrace of the nobles. This is to make friends with the stupid king, not to make friends with the Satan Yang Yu who uses cuteness to disguise his cruelty. Yeah. He scratched his head blankly, then generously took the card that was common to the Elf Alliance, and then handed it to Yang Yu. Stephen seemed to see Satan Yang Yu's pair of faint green lights from hell, so terrifying that his little heart almost stopped beating. Let's go first. Stephen withdrew the big tongue licking and the mongoose who had been drinking tea. The subsequent control of the card by King Slow had nothing to do with him, as long as his gratitude was accepted by King Slow. Yang Yu looked at the three trainers in front of him who were leaving here as if they were running for their lives, and he was completely confused for a moment. Why do today's young people, why do they run away as soon as they disagree? It's a pity that I didn't run away with my big tongue on my back when I ran there. It would have been interesting that way. 200,000 elf coins, hiss. Selling ice cream is so profitable now. Suddenly, Yang Yu's eyelids twitched, and another black shadow jumped out from Yang Yu's head. At this speed, Yang Yu seemed to have experienced it not long ago. While Yang Yu wasn't paying attention, he robbed the card in Yang Yu's hand and took it away. Hey, little dream demon, this is not your card. Yang Yu raised his eyebrows again. The country is easy to change, but the nature is hard to change. Wow. Little dream demon, I thought you were already a stable little cutie, but I never expected. The little dream demon was holding the card so happily that she could hardly find it. Omega asterisk. It's been a long time since I've had a card like this that can withdraw small amounts of money. Just let him hold him for a while, just hold him for a while. Guaranteed not to move. Not a penny moved. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, Ai Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 538. Yang Yu, your mini dragon, what's going on? Wan Kaizhu and Wu Yuqian came together to find Yang Yu. When they saw the mini dragon hanging upside down in Yang Yu's tent, with a look of despair on his face, both of them couldn't help laughing. What else can you do? Do bad things. Since you have done bad things, you must have a charter. Come on, let's eat the ice cream Dede just made and show it to the mini dragon. Yang Yu glared at the hanging mini dragon. Take a look. Little one. Me. 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 The mini dragon seemed to be tied tightly to the tail of fate, swaying in the air, but it was still like a poor little insect, unable to break free. These vines were tied with chrysanthemums and grass leaves on the island where we met geranium before. Do you still keep these? Wu Yuqian's eyes widened, feeling a little incredible. Tie it with this, it's strong. Yang Yu also pulled it, but it was still so strong. The mini dragon looked at Yang Yu's hand eagerly. It was full of expectation, and even its body formed a J shape, thinking that Yang Yu was here to save it from the fire and water. But I never expected it. Me. 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 The mini dragon shook hard, but it discovered a huge secret. No matter how hard it shook, it would eventually return to the original straight line. No more energy. Like a salted fish that has lost its dream. This is really. Wan Kaizhu smiled and shook his head. Yang Yu's mini dragon is unique. This is really strange, but he is still in his childhood, and it is normal to have such a gluttonous temper. By the way, Lao Wan, please let your Yuanlu shark come out too. Yang Yu probably hasn't even seen your Yuanlu shark yet, Wu Yuqian said. Yes, yes, Yang Yu remembered this time that Wan Kaizhu had chosen the elf egg of the round land shark, and Wu Yuqian also mentioned that Wan Kaizhu's round land shark had also hatched. Now I really want to see what that little round land shark looks like in reality. Speaking of the round land shark, Wan Kaizhu paused with a strange expression on his face and said, at this moment, I guess he's still sleeping, he's just a snoozer. Wan Kaizhu took out a yellow-black high-grade ball from his pocket, opened it and touched his nose and said, not long after Yuanlu shark was born, I used the elf ball to collect him, but he refused to enter this ordinary elf. I refuse to score even super goals, so I only score high-level goals. That's also spiritual. I got the most expensive elf ball. Yang Yu and Wu Yuqian looked at each other and then said with a smile. Haha. The high-level ball was opened, but unlike ordinary elves, the round land shark seemed to appear a little shaky, like a roly-poly. The round land shark looks like a young shark, with a huge dorsal fin on the top of its head, which is somewhat similar to the dart on the top of Severn's head, except that the direction is reversed. There are rugby-shaped protrusions on both sides of the dorsal fin, which are small and even a bit like torpedoes, with a light blue stripe in the middle. The round land shark has a big mouth, and its entire head accounts for almost 80 to 90% of its body. Its small tail is almost as long as the tail of a duck, and its three-toed limbs, also very short, small, top-heavy, just like the round land shark. This round land shark almost had its eyes closed, as if it was still sleeping. It was swaying as if it was drunk and might hit the ground at any time. Puff. Yang Yu quickly covered his mouth, and the breath seemed to be coming out of his nostrils. The appearance of Yuan Lu shark was really funny. I have to say that this appearance matched Wang Kai's Hu, it seemed a perfect match. Yuan Lu shark. Wu Yuqian grinned, when he grows up, he will be mighty. Now this little one is still a bit small. Wang Kai's Hu shrugged, right? He didn't have much else to think about now. The main thing was to cultivate the elf Yuan Lu shark. No matter how much resources he spent, he was still willing to do so. I seem a little sleepy. Yang Yu whispered. Similar to our human babies, dragon elves need a lot of sleeping periods when they are born. Well, after eating its own eggshells, the round land shark slept for several days. In some stories about dragon elves, many studies have proven that this is the inheritance of some of the genetic abilities of parents. Wang Kai's Hu smiled at the corner of his mouth and his voice was very calm. At this time, Wang Kai's Hu didn't look like the prodigal son he usually looked like outside. Instead, he looked very focused and spoke very seriously. After all, dragon elves are indeed unique in some aspects. Wu Yuqian nodded and smiled. Me. An inappropriate sound seemed to be heard in the tent, as if, laughing. Mini dragon, why are you laughing there? Yang Yu looked at the mini dragon hanging in the air and twitching, feeling a little strange in his heart, and even began to hate the fact that iron cannot become steel. Look at Yuan Lusha, he has begun to inherit some of his parents' abilities at such a young age. Look at you, what tricks have you inherited? Eat, and be happy? For a moment, Yang Yu thought about it and suddenly lost consciousness. I think of the happy, fat orange dragon in the secret realm of the East China Sea Dragon Palace, and then look at the heartless and happy mini dragon in front of me, full of eating and eating. Although the mini dragon is also very beautiful, but... Okay, no buts, with these points, the mini dragon seems to be able to do whatever he wants. Just when the mini dragon laughed, the swaying round land shark on the ground suddenly popped, and its head hit the ground, making a crisp sound. Yang Yu only saw the round land shark suddenly jump, as if it were a round and flexible little fat man, standing up straight on the ground, and then those eyes with shark energy seemed to enter the world in an instant. Combat status. Boo-hoo. Yuan Lu shark quickly turned around twice, quickly looking at the surrounding environment with vigilant eyes, with an expression on his face that there are always unscrupulous people who want to harm me. The mini dragon laughed happily. This was the first time it saw such a funny little elf. Well, it was this round land shark. The legs are so short, the tail is so short, the head is so big, it can't even stand firmly, and the head likes to touch the ground. Stupid. The round land shark captured the source of that hateful laughter in an instant, and at the same time, its eyes quickly locked on that. The round land shark suddenly hugged its round belly with its limbs. The whole elf seemed to be like a ball, rolling on the ground, making a weird laugh like a mini dragon. The little elf tied with a rope looks so strange, ha ha ha. The nose is so big, the tail is so long, wow, it doesn't even have hands or feet, and it's still hanging upside down. It's so miserable. As Yang Yu, Wu Yuqian, and Wang Kai looked at each other on Wednesday, the two elves seemed to be natural enemies, laughing at each other. Such a scene. None of the three of them have ever met. They won't fight. Wu Yuqian muttered softly. Probably, no, Yang Yu's tone was not very sure. Seeing that the mini-dragon was still so happy even though it was hanging upside down by a rope, he was probably not the future patriarch of an optimistic family, right? Wang Kai's expression moved slightly, and he lowered his voice and asked softly, Yang Yu, is your mini-dragon a male or a female? Wu Yuqian blinked, and for a moment he seemed to realize something. Mother. Yang Yu replied softly. Wang Kai's took a deep breath and quickly replied, this round land shark of mine, is also female. This is a female dragon vs a female dragon. It's more terrifying than a tigress fighting a tigress, Wu Yuqian quickly interjected. For a moment, Yang Yu and the three of them forgot about wanting to eat ice cream, but it didn't matter. Dede was fully prepared. He prepared a lot of ice cubes. Even if Yang Yu ate slower, the ice cream would not melt. La. It's okay, they are still young. Yang Yu and Wang Kai's spoke at the same time as if they had a clear understanding. At the same time, the mini-dragon hanging in the air had almost had enough fun, so it took a break midway and hung upside down in the air looking at the fat round land shark on the ground. Feeling the smiling gaze of the mini-dragon, Yuan Lu shark immediately stopped rolling on the ground laughing, put his short little hands on his waist angrily, and walked step by step in the direction of the mini-dragon. Magnificent! Aha! The mini-dragon's body trembled slightly, but it immediately raised its eyes. It couldn't lose in terms of momentum. Oh! Yuan Lu shark issued a strong challenge to the mini-dragon in mid-air. However, Yuan Lu shark took the initiative to challenge such a long opponent, and he didn't know if he could beat him. However, we can't lose in terms of momentum. The conversation seems to go something like this. Yuan Lu shark, angry, come down and PK below. Mini-dragon, music if you have the ability, come up, come and hit me. Yuan Lu shark, angry, come down if you dare, I will challenge you to a duel. Mini-dragon, le lugo, come and hit me if you can't hit me lugo. The confrontation on the scene seemed to be frozen for a while. Me. Oh. Ugh. Mini-dragon, music short winter melon, come and hit me. Yuan Lu shark, angry Xiao Zugan, what are you talking about, watch out. Dishes. Yuan Lu shark jumped angrily, like a bouncing rubber ball, angrily jumping towards it. At this time, how could the mini-dragon hanging in mid-air make the round land shark fulfill its wish? Shake, I swing, I shake again, I swing again, come and hit me, if you can't hit me, just a little bit. The round land shark jumps very hard every time it takes off. However, as a child, it has short legs and has no formal elf training. How can it get a mini-dragon hanging in mid-air? But it's almost just that little bit different. I almost hit that big white nose. Yang Yu, Wang Kai's and Wu Yuqian seemed to see that there was no harm in such fun, so they sat side by side. The VIP audience in the first row of the tent ate ice cream instead of melon, but they watched with great interest. Looking at the battle scene in front of me. The round land shark couldn't help the mini-dragon, and the mini-dragon couldn't help the round land shark. The former kept jumping around on the ground, and the latter kept swinging back and forth in mid-air, and even wanted to dance. This kind of scene is really what Yang Yu and the others want to see. Wang Kai's did not expect that the round land shark would attack so proactively. Although it was not yet a formal battle training, it was still of great benefit to his growth. Interest is the best teacher. If jumping up and beating up the sandbag like mini-dragon is considered a hobby, Yang Yu didn't think much about it. For the mini-dragon, this was considered a small punishment. Last time, he was a little softer because he was injured and didn't hang up the mini-dragon. This time, he still had to teach it a little lesson. This little thing is so naughty. We don't have much time for such a leisurely afternoon, Wu Yuqian sighed with emotion, squinting his eyes to feel the rich sweetness and milky taste of the ice cream, and said, you can use the moo milk from my milk bottle then. If you do it, it will taste even better. Hey, of course I have to keep the good things for myself. I will open an ice cream shop on the island tomorrow or whenever. Yang Yu shook his head and thought leisurely. Just like the food festival in Meteor Forest, Wang Kaizu joked. Yes. It's just like that time, except there are no points here, just use the purest elf coins. Brother Wu, if it's moo milk, we can hide it ourselves and eat it. Ha ha ha, okay, Wu Yukin accepted it happily. The milk tank could not produce much moo milk every day. Naturally, he had to keep such a good thing for himself. At this time, the fierce battle in the tent still had no winner. The mini-dragon was dangling in the air, and his head felt a little dizzy, as if the world was spinning, while the short-legged round land shark was jumping on the ground. And it no longer has its original vitality. Snapped. Finally, Yuan Lu shark stopped fighting and couldn't fight anymore. He lay on the ground and stared at the mini-dragon above with his eyes full of shark energy. Damn it, I'll kill you within 3 days. The mini-dragon was so proud that it swung in the air like a bell and let out a cheerful laugh. The battle stopped for a while, and there was an intermission. However, while resting, the round land shark suddenly discovered that something seemed to be hanging down from above for no reason. With a click, it almost fell on its head. It's the saliva of a mini-dragon. Mini-dragon, looking at Yang Yu and the other 3 who were eating with gusto, their mouths drooled. It's so attractive to the dragon. The Yuan Lu shark was about to get angry when suddenly, its eyes flickered. It seemed to have thought of a way to deal with the mini-dragon. The thought of having a way to deal with the mini-dragon made Yuan Lu shark feel energetic all over, and he even jumped towards his master Wang Kaizu with steps that he didn't recognize. It? In front of the mini-dragon, eat it for the mini-dragon to see. Oh no. Watching the Yuan Lu shark jumping and running over, its big head rested on Wang Kaizu's hand, and it stretched out its little hand coquettishly, wanting to eat the ice cream in Wang Kaizu's other hand. Here, eat less. Wang Kaizu smiled and touched the head of the round land shark, and put a small piece of ice cream into the small claws of the round land shark. The mini-dragon in mid-air was shaking with anger when he saw that the round land shark could actually eat ice cream. Me. How can this be done? It's too much. The corner of Yuan Lu shark's eyes turned slyly. This time, as he walked towards the direction of the mini-dragon, he was not only indistinguishable from relatives, he even became a dragon. He held his head high and his chest high, with a proud look that made his head go up to the sky. The round land shark smiled evilly with its big mouth and stretched out its small claws with ice cream. Do you want to eat it? The mini-dragon suddenly drooled 3,000 feet. Me. If you want to eat, come down here. The round land shark attracted the mini-dragon very badly, and at the last moment, it put the piece of ice cream into its big mouth. Snort. I won't let you eat even if you want to. Mum. Mini-dragon, instantly petrified. Lao Wang, I have a question. Can your Yuan Lu shark, this dragon plus earth dual attribute, be able to eat ice cream? Wu Yukin took out a tissue to wipe his hands, and then asked subconsciously. Wang Kaizu. Why the hell didn't you tell me earlier? Although it won't have much impact, the round land shark has exercised strenuously before. After this strenuous exercise, it can't eat ice all at once. Especially for elves like you and Lusha, who are 4 times weaker than ice in longevity. Snapped. At this time, the round land shark that had eaten the ice cream suddenly fell to the ground, and its stomach hurt so much. The petrified mini-dragon in the air looked at the appearance of the round land shark, and it came back to life in an instant. Snort. Only the masters can survive. Call you greedy. Poof. There was a strange sound in the tent. The mini-dragon's eyeballs suddenly started to spin in confusion. What does this smell like? It stinks. Asking for a monthly ticket. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huo Shao. Chapter 539. The PK between Mini Dragon and Round Land Shark ended in a draw. Such a scene made Yang Yu and Wan Kai feel something in their hearts on Monday, as if they were back to the time when they first met on the campus of Jiaotong University, except that the protagonists at that time were the Little Dream Monster and the Cursed Doll. At that time, Little Dream Demon had a slight advantage by pulling out Yang Yu's hair. If calculated based on the time when he lost his combat effectiveness, Mini Dragon should have been able to hold on for a while longer, but he didn't expect Yuan Lu Shark to use Tongming. Of course, this same fate is not really the same move, but the final effect is somewhat similar. For training on gravity moves, I still have to go to Little Reggie Lock. It will be easier to master quickly. Yang Yu held a move learning machine in his hand. He had just finished recording it and it was heating up. There is no doubt that this move is for Day to learn. With the physical training, Yang Yu did feel some changes in his body. Even on a hot day when he was sweating, he felt very comfortable. More importantly, his personal physical strength became more durable. Although not as scary as a super newbie, Yang Yu's reaction ability has been greatly improved, which can be of great help in commanding elves to engage in elf battles. It's a pity that Little Reggie Rock can't eat ice cream, otherwise I would bring some for him to try. Yang Yu changed his mind and was ready to go find Wu Yuqian. Wu Yuqian has been using his giant claw mantis to fight in the elf battles these days. Yang Yu naturally knows the reason. Wu Yuqian really wishes that the strength of the giant claw mantis can suddenly break through to the gym level, but things like strength really cannot be rushed. Just like in the animation, there is a reissue that uses the power of the electric stone to evolve Pikachu into advance. It forcibly evolved before the elf's initial form was laid. It even failed to master the flash of lightning. In the end, lost to Pai Shen. You hard-working humans, are you here to get beaten again today? Entering the secret realm of the center island of the world again, Little Reggie Lock's voice was still so unbeatable that it echoed inside. Yang Yu and Wu Yuqian have long been accustomed to Little Reggie Lock's verbal blows. Naturally, they can't compare with the elf's physical strength, especially Little Reggie Lock's hard rock body. It is estimated that even the Salted Fish King uses salted fish to stab him. It won't hurt too much. There is no clear analysis of the racial value of the three divine pillars in the Elf Alliance, but Yang Yu knew that the physical defense racial value of the little cookie in front of him was as high as 200. No one can escape the law of true fragrance, and Yang Yu is no exception. During the beating, the golden light in Yang Yu's mind gradually became brighter. Although it was still gray, it had grown a lot compared to when it was first acquired. Come out, Salty Fish King, you are so beautiful. By the way, there is also Little Bayo Bayo. Roar. Yi. Ho ho ho. Mini Dragon, come back here. When Yang Yu saw the sneaky Mini Dragon trying to sneak away, he grabbed the Mini Dragon's tail and pulled it. Look. A tender and plump Mini Dragon was lifted up by Yang Yu like this. Me. 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 The Mini Dragon will never give in just like that. The Mini Dragon wanted to struggle but found that it seemed that it really couldn't escape Yang Yu's clutches. Even the Salted Fish King's eyes twitched inexplicably. Yang Yu actually developed a new skill without even realizing it. No, it should be a move that I have learned before but only recently became proficient in. Dragon Claw Hand. This was a move that Yang Yu remembered when he met Wan Kai's Who's Yuan Lu Shark 2 days ago. I learned it when I was picking up elf eggs after winning the individual competition in the national competition. At that time, I also got the Dragon Claw move from the Round Land Shark. Unfortunately, Yang Yu didn't pay much attention to this move later. After all, even if the Dragon Claw move needs to be taught, the elf must have claws. The Salted Fish King and Melee couldn't learn this trick, it seemed unnecessary. The reason for little Bao Bao was the same as that of the salted fish king, they both had no claws. As for the little dream demon, Mr. Yang Yu felt that if he really taught the little dream demon this trick, he would have become bald long ago. For the rest, Tijipai should just let him continue to wag his fingers. Learning the dragon claw will completely bury Tijipai's magical command skills. Therefore, the move of dragon claw in Yang Yu's mind was quickly forgotten by him. Until I met the round land shark before. At that time, it was just when Yang Yu was about to punish the mini dragon. It was also a very coincidence. Yang Yu suddenly remembered that he still had such a trick. Dragon claw. Although he can't teach elves for the time being, Yang Yu can learn it himself. When Yang Yu caught fish, he was the most handsome boy in the second shallow water area of the entire ocean park. Even Brother Kun called him the best fish catcher. He had the grip of the underworld, but even the salted fish king trembled. Now, Yang Yu has mastered a new move. Derived from the dragon claw move, the death grip is specially designed for catching many dragons. Different from the previous Hades grip, Yang Yu can now firmly grasp the mini dragon's tail with one hand, and even prevent it from escaping. Me. 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 The mini dragon never expected that in just 2 days, it would be unable to escape Yang Yu's grasp. In the past, I could rely on my soft and smooth body to escape in advance when Yang Yu wasn't paying attention, but now I can't. Yang Yu has experience. Not to mention, under the training of little Reggie Locke, Yang Yu's reaction ability and physical fitness have improved. Coupled with this dragon claw hand, the dragon claw hand from the round land shark, it can deal with the mini dragon, it simply don't take it too easy. The salted fish king was dumbfounded. Those huge eyes revealed full of shock. Is your master so awesome now? At first, it took 2 hands to hold it firmly, but now, only one hand can grasp the slippery mini dragon, and even lift the mini dragon easily. Yang Yu Xiao, evolved. The big beautiful eyes are full of splendor. It is very different from the experience of the salted fish king. At least when it was still a little fish, Yang Yu and Dudu used to hold it with both hands, in the palm of his hand. There will also be some water. Occasionally, you can see Yang Yuxiu catching fish. It's different now, Yang Yu can now catch the dragon with one hand. This mechanically precise voice was not said by Wu Yuqian, but by little Reggie Locke. Ever since I met Yang Yu, once these 2 words were spoken, they even had a strong internal flavor. Junior brother Han's catch is amazing, Wu Yuqian couldn't help but marvel. The mini dragon slipped away at an unexpected speed, just like a loach. It was slippery. Even if you wanted to catch it, it would still be difficult to catch it with just one hand, but Yang Yu actually did it. This reaction and shooting speed are not like junior brother Han before. The beating training here is so effective, it is simply incredible. Coach Reggie Locke, I want to get beaten too. Yang Yu grinned. He was forced to come out. The mini dragon was really too skinny. Otherwise, Yang Yu wouldn't have learned this trick to deal with it. It seems that the effect is quite good. Yang Yu picked up the mini dragon, lifted it higher, and raised his eyebrows again at the upside-down mini dragon. Yang Yu Xiao vs Mini Dragon. Yang Yu wins. Recommended book I'm Charming worth thousands of dollars, author, Left Hand Loli. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huo Chiang Xiao. Chapter 540. Stand still here, I'm not here for you to play around today. Yang Yu didn't hang the mini dragon all the time. Since he caught it, he just let it stay by the side and don't run away. When training is over, there will be ice cream to eat. There was something small in Mini Dragon's mind, and he seemed to be thinking about running a business trip or something, but as soon as he heard what Yang Yu said, for a moment. Branch Etch. Stand up. The usually soft body of the mini dragon actually raised its head high at this moment, and stars began to shine in its confused eyes. the mini-dragon, make ice cream. Yeah. Standing aside, he stared blankly at the extremely serious look of the mini-dragon. He stretched out his hand and touched the back of his head. Yang Yu still had a solution. I blankly remembered the little natural bird I brought with me in the meteor forest. It seemed that the method of teaching was not used correctly. It is not that the method was wrong, but that the method of bringing it was not the best. Yang Yu's current method has immediate results. Roar. Yi. The salted fish king was secretly happy above. Male poked the salted fish king's neck with her hair-like fin to tell him to stop being so silly. Yang Yuzhen looked up at him. Salted fish king, dance with the training later. We train in the gravity field. I practice, and you have to practice too. Yang Yu has personal experience. Although it is indeed more difficult to move in the gravity field than usual, after adapting, returning to ordinary land will not be as easy as usual. Roar. The salted fish king nodded. These days, Yang Yu's hard training as the salted fish king is also seen. Since his master can persevere, then naturally he, the salted fish king, cannot lag behind. This is just like when he first learned to surf. Yang Yu also practiced it. Even if he was knocked over by a wave, he still stood up and continued to learn surfing skills. The encouragement between trainers and elves is mutual. Only by working together and making progress can we have a better future. Yang Yu didn't want him and the salted fish king to be like Xiaozai and Charizard. For a long time after the fire dinosaur evolved into Charizard, Xiaozai was unable to command the proud Charizard due to his own reasons, resulting in losing himself. As first championship. Yang Yu doesn't want to be a champion. Of course, being a champion will bring you a lot of small money. In that case, Dang Dang is quite good. In short, at the end of the day, Yang Yu can't always let his elf act cool. He has to show his strength at least in front of his elf, otherwise he will be like a mascot or pendant. Then Yang Yaduo has no face. Yang Yu, I'm going to the other side to continue training the giant pincer mantis, Wu Yuqian said. Wu Yuqian has his own training schedule, and more importantly, he also needs to use a better steel coating to coat the steel shell and wings of the giant pincer mantis. These materials were obtained by Wu Yuqian in exchange for Yvonne from Polar Bear. In terms of steel coating, the precious elf props produced in Polar Bear are better. Wu Yuqian is not short of money, but what he is short of now is time. He wants to train the giant pincer mantis as much as possible to become one of his high-end combat forces. Okay. Yang Yu focused his attention on Male. Like the salted fish king, Male does not belong to the dragon-type elves, but they can both learn mysterious dragon-type changes such as dragon dance. What Yang Yu was thinking about was that through the dragon dance training of the salted fish king and the mini-dragon, he would lead Male to learn the dragon dance move. At the same time, he stayed in this gravity field and learned the gravity move learning machine that Yang Yu prepared for him. In this case, Yang Yu's whole family, oh no, it was Yang Yu and all his elves who could learn the gravity moves in this limited space. Carry out moves training during the time. Yang Yu was looking forward to seeing what incredible performance this big beauty, who had been so competitive when she was a little fish, could do after mastering the dance of the dragon. Then let's get started. Human, what are you doing? Sitting on a temporary hillside made of broken rocks, the 7 small orange beads on little Regirock's head all lit up. It was very curious about the trainer who would take it away from the secret realm in more than 10 days. What kind of trouble is being done here again? You're talking more and more like a human, Yang Yu grinned and said with a smile. Yang Yu's previous guess was not wrong. The little Regilock in front of him was not the complete core of Regilock. Otherwise, with Yang Yu's provocation to Regilock, he might have been beaten by Regilock with just one punch on the battlefield. Gillick got the KO. This is the core of Regilock's wisdom. In addition, there is also a core of Regilock's power in the elf world. However, For some reasons that little Regilok doesn't want to say, Regilok's core of power seems to be in the elf world. Lost in the world? I don't know where it fell. It may have become an ordinary stone, buried under the city's roads, or it may have been mixed with reinforced concrete in its sleep, adding bricks and tiles to the city's construction. It may have been buried in the mountains, in the desert. Place, it may also be submerged in the bottom of the sea, and the sea is dry and the rocks are rotten. However, among some of the secrets little Regilok said, when Regilok's wisdom core and power core merge into one, the power core has absolute dominance, because the core of wisdom cannot defeat the core of strength. Just like when a scholar encounters a soldier, he cannot explain why. Reason with the reckless man, and the reckless man will punch you directly. During the fight, he will explain the truth to you. God, we must also keep pace with the times. Little Regilok gestured to the laptop in his hand, his tone seemed helpless, and his eyes were full of wisdom. It browsed the web page, which contained many photos of scenic spots. Some places had a vague impression in its memory, and some places seemed to have completely changed their appearance. The world is so big and he wants to see it. Of course, you have to go after the world's center island sinks. While the island is still floating on the sea, let's take a look at the performance of this future owner and see how he trains the elves. Dadu, let's get started. Let's try the controllable gravity field size first. Yang Yu took a deep breath. Next. It's time to show off your real skills. Yeah. Dede slowly stretched out his hands, just like the starting position of Tai Chi, calmly and cautiously. When his eyes began to glow with lavender light, the surrounding environment gradually became more solemn. Little Regilok, who was on the hillside of a pile of rubble, suddenly stood up with twinkling eyes, and the machine lost its voice, heavy, gravity. However, the next second, an even more incredible scene appeared in the eyes of little Regilok, even faintly flickering. Move after move, move after move. Get moving. There is a dinner party in the evening, so I will update in advance. If I come back early and my mind is still clear, I will continue to update. Please vote. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pokemon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 542. Chapter 524 When Regilok Learned to Dance, 15. Poppy. Tijapai's little eggshell body followed its left and right feet, swaying back and forth on the ground. The little feet stepped on the ground, like the percussion of a rhythm instrument, very light, but its little hands also waved at the same time. It had heard this rhythm before it was hatched from the egg, and even, it still remembers it clearly. Yang Yu himself never thought that the dance he once fought with the Happy Fatty in the secret realm of the Dragon Palace in the East China Sea, as well as the various sounds of different elves that surrounded the Dragon Palace, would be very important to Tijapai, who was still in the elf egg period at that time, has a very profound impact. Musical prenatal education? What could be more attractive to the crybaby Tijapai than happiness? Move, imitation. Tijapai magically imitated the melody of the rhythmic music during the elf egg period from the memory in his mind. What kind of sound is that? Junior brother Han, does he still carry BGM with him? Wu Yuqian and his giant pincer mantis were both startled. Wu Yuqian was using metal paint to help the giant pincer mantis paint the metal shell. But the moment he heard the sound, his hands shook and the paint almost touched the ground. The sudden rhythm, every move, every hit, if you are in an open space, it may not feel like anything special, but don't forget. In the secret realm inside the central island, the entire venue is almost a closed three-dimensional space. Let alone playing rhythm, even throwing a stone can produce an excellent reverberation effect. Not to mention the 3D integrated surround sound effect. In this secret realm, it feels like 4D can be produced. At this moment, by coincidence, a natural engraved disco scene was born. In disbelief, Yang Yu cast his eyes on the little guy next to him who was jumping more joyfully than him. His eyes looked like he had seen a ghost, and his whole body stopped subconsciously. Was there any mistake? After finally being able to show off in front of his own elf, making headlines or something, showing off his abilities, but in the end, his double click turned into a mascot and a pendant again. Tijipai, he dances a little too diligently. The warm-up session has just begun, but suddenly the rhythm has reached the most exciting point. Can you have fun now? The sudden rhythm made the salted fish king subconsciously stop his warm-up activities. Like Domali, his eyes fell on the Tijipai little eggshell who was even more energetic than him. For a moment, those big eyes were filled with even greater doubts. Little guy, you are very good at dancing. Poppy. Tijipai squinted his little eyes, and couldn't stop jumping for joy. He just felt that the rhythm of the music coming from the wagging fingers was particularly happy. This was the most impressive thing he had heard during the elf egg period. The deepest rhythm and melody. The little dream monster floated on the side with its big eyes wide open and touched the back of its head. It was the first time it saw such an excited Tijipai. Poppy. Tijipai's squinted eyes finally opened, and he found a circle of people around him. Oh no, a circle around him, including Yang Yu, all the other elves, the salted fish king, Domali, and there were little stormtroopers, many dragons, and, yes, even Daka with eyes flashing with superpowers, all standing there staring at it. Little dream demon sister, don't you, come and dance together? There was great doubt in Tijipai's small eyes. Suddenly, the doubtful little eyes narrowed again. The volume must not be loud enough. What should I do if the volume is not loud enough? Just wave your hand. Boom. There was a loud final sound in the secret realm, and the next moment, a new disco dance began. Yang Yu's eyelids twitched subconsciously, because he vaguely felt that some of the gravel on the ground around him seemed to bounce, as if keeping up with the rhythm of Tijipai, following the heavy drum beat. Boom. 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 Snap. 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 Yeah. His eyes suddenly put away his superpowers. In front of his eyes, just like Yang Yu, he could see the movement of the gravel up and down, but what he saw and felt was clearer than Yang Yu's. Also deeper. These rocks on the ground. It vaguely seems to be leaving the ground and floating in the air. Oh my god, little Reggie Locke, what do you want to do? Yang Yu's eyes flickered, and he even began to worry a little, because on the hilltop that was originally piled with gravel, the man holding a laptop little Reggie Locke. He actually threw the notebook aside casually. Dancing, playing games is worse than dancing. A mechanical voice came from the wisdom core of little Reggie Locke, and the H-shaped eyes composed of 7 orange dots flashed from top to bottom, left to right, like a computer restarting. What? Sigma, oh. Oh. What did Yang Yu just hear? What did this little Reggie Locke say? Playing games is not as good as dancing? WDNMD. Also, why did the action of throwing the notebook just now look so familiar? It was like throwing a basketball. Shattered rock, listen to my orders. Little Reggie Locke's voice was extremely majestic. As the rock god pillar and the controller of the rock, he issued an order and caused all the broken rocks in the entire secret realm to float into the air almost instantly. Yang Yu's eyelids twitched. No way. Is it really just for dancing to have such a big battle? Father, like son. Wu Yuqian, who was applying metallic paint to the giant pincer mantis on the side, thought for a moment. The floating rocks in the surrounding circle were the effect of the invisible rock move. In such a venue, as the controller of the rocks, There is no doubt that Reggie Locke's fighting ability is invincible. Of course, it has to be the complete Regirock, but even if the little Regirock at this time is just the core of wisdom, it is still indestructible with the auxiliary defense of the invisible rock. However, for little Reggie Locke, does the scene in front of him have anything to do with the battle between elves? No. Little Reggie Rock just saw Tijipai jumping happily and couldn't help but want to dance along. Not to mention, in this sealed secret realm, he couldn't let the music rhythm stop like this. The salted fish king's beard dangled in front of his eyes subconsciously, and he rubbed the edges of the outline, fearing that he might have seen it wrong. These days, broken rocks can actually float in the air and dance. Does my territory obey my wishes? Still in my BGM, no one can beat me. Yang Yu took a deep breath, and his thoughts flew away in his mind. Life has encountered some difficulties, but our happiness in the book continues. Yesterday I wrote until late at night and early in the morning, but I fell asleep at the table. Sorry, trainers, I didn't have time to click and upload. I will make up for it at the 5th update today. Pokémon's Character Master. Author, AI Ren Huoqiang Xiao. Chapter 543. Chapter 525. It's a big deal. 25. All the elves were showing off, but Yang Yu was the only one getting beaten. These days, there are no tricks to squeeze the bottom of the box, so it's really hard to use them to embarrass yourself. But when Yang Yu came back to his senses and stared at the dance of little Reggie Locke, his jaw almost dropped for a moment. Oh! It's not just Yang Yu, there are a lot of elves behind Yang Yu, right at the salted fish king. Not to mention their eyes are wide open, one is wide open, the other is small, and they are even twitching, just looking at the suspended magnet. The little Reggie Rock and the bouncing Tijipai in the field. The music rhythm has been playing for a long time. Tijipai saw that Yang Yu and the elves behind him did not dance, so he naturally danced with little Reggie Locke, not to mention. Little Reggie Locke knows how to play. Click, click, click. As a combination of rocks, every joint on little Reggie Locke's body has mysterious magnetism. Through the power of magnets, any rock on little Reggie Locke's body can be rotated at will. Click. Little Reggie Locke's head, like a robot, rotated 180 degrees backwards in an instant, and the sound it made during the rotation happened to hit the BGM point. Kaka. Equals. Wu Yuqian temporarily stopped what he was doing, put away the metal paint, and cautiously returned to Yang Yu. He was next to Yang Yu, looking at the rotating head of little Reggie Locke in the field. Be in a daze together. Yang Yu, is this really Reggie Locke? Why do I feel like this is a miniature dancing robot? Wu Yuqian muttered in a low voice. Yang Yu blinked and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. Isn't it? Not only can this little Reggie Locke's head be rotated flexibly, but his arms, legs, and the rock protection on his chest can also rotate in accordance with the rhythm that Tijipai shakes his finger at this time. The World Dance King is no better than. Is that so? He didn't know why, but he always had an ominous premonition. Regirock, what kind of elf is that? These are the 3 divine pillars. If the scene in front of me was in an animation, looking at the rock god pillars spinning their heads and limbs in a mechanical dance in the field, no one would believe that these are the 3 god pillars that protect the Fangyuan area. This is just the rock god pillar. What if it was the steel god pillar Regis Chiru? I'm afraid it's not more extreme than the little Regirock who is the wisdom core of the rock god pillar in front of me. Little Reggie Locke is just the core of the rock. The steel god pillar Regis Chiru is the real steel body. If he can dance a mechanical dance, he will be more powerful than the rock god. Zhu needs to be more professional. If one day in the future we really gather the 3 divine pillars, why not let them all perform mechanical dance? It seems that it is not impossible for all of them to debut in the C position and dance to save the world. Just when Yang Yu was full of random thoughts, the golden light in his mind flashed again, which quickly woke him up from his thoughts. However, when he saw the moves that appeared in his mind, all he wanted to do was hit the duck. 3 question marks. Rock polishing. Source: Reggie Rock's wisdom core reawakens body memory and mastery under dance. The rocks on the body rotate flexibly during the dance, smoothing Regirock's almost rough joints and reducing the air resistance therein, thereby increasing Regirock's speed, etc. Yang Yu felt a little confused for a moment. What is this? I go. For some elves of the rock type, most of them are not very fast. Because of their heavy bodies and the effect of the resistance of rocks in the air, they are easily at a disadvantage when facing flexible elves in an elf battle. However, with rock polishing it is different. A move that can double the speed of rock elves, this is like the dance of rock elves. Although it does not increase the attack power compared to sword dance, dragon dance, and butterfly dance, for rock elves, it improves the speed is an effect that increases the attack. Is this even okay? Yang Yu almost jumped. This is inexplicable. Little Reggie Locke evoked memories while dancing. In other words, he had mastered this move before, but later, for unknown reasons, he never used the rock polishing move again. It's amazing, Wu Yuqian thought Yang Yu was talking about Reggie Locke's flexible body when dancing. He was able to perform spiral dance steps from all angles. This was simply unheard of. It was indeed the operation of a god. At this moment, little Reggie Locke seemed to feel that his lost youth was back. Under the rhythm of this music, my joints feel comfortable and flexible that I haven't felt for a long time. Even the sound of click, click, click gradually turned into a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh sound. It's because during rock grinding, the joints become more and more flexible, and it doesn't take any effort to turn 5 times in one breath. This trainer named Yang Yu has something. He actually knows how to use dancing to help hone the flexibility of his body joints. He is indeed the hot trainer Reggie Locke likes. Junior brother Han, maybe my giant mantis should learn to dance from Reggie Locke. The joints of the steel body still need to maintain a certain degree of lubrication. Wu Yuqian was thoughtful. The gravel still suspended in the field was still dancing to the rhythm with Reggie Locke, but this did not affect him in the slightest from looking at the flexible rock body. Yang Yu blinked and was about to say something, but suddenly, in addition to the rhythmic music and the gravel in the air, the entire place seemed to be shaking up and down suddenly. At the moment when Yang Yu's feet trembled and he was about to fall down, a terrifying thought popped into his head. Isn't this little Reggie Rock's dance, that resonated with the entire island? Yeah. Just when Yang Yu and Wu Yuqian were about to fall to the ground, Dudu's superpower gently lifted them up. At the same time, they couldn't help but look towards the ceiling in the secret realm. The big mouth seemed to be relieved. There was no huge rubble falling on the ceiling just now due to the tremor. What happened? Wu Yuqian's heart suddenly jumped. This island, isn't it going to collapse due to the shaking inside the secret realm? As long as I'm here, the island won't collapse. Little Reggie Locke's voice was sonorous and powerful at this moment, and at that moment, he seemed like a real divine pillar with a mission. As long as it's there, the sky won't fall. I'll go to the island control room to have a look. Little Reggie Locke temporarily stopped dancing and immediately opened the secret passage mechanism under the battle stage. Yang Yu and Wu Yuqian glanced at each other, and I have to say that what little Reggie Rock said just now, did have an indescribably convincing feeling. It's cool and cool. After a while, when little Reggie Rock walked out of the small passage, he touched the back of his head with his big fist, and his voice was a little weird. What's wrong? Yang Yu and Wu Yuqian said in unison. It seems that the rhythmic sound inside the secret realm spreads through the rocks at the bottom of the island, affecting the roaring whale king in the sea. Yang Yu. Wu Yuqian. If the king howler whales danced around the island, it's a big deal.